see a leopard, which is so exciting. So we're trying to find this female, and luckily Taylor and Herbie heard an alarm call and we came into the area and we managed to find her. So super exciting, and she's moving around through these thickets because she's trying to hunt at the moment. So she's looking for animals that she can try and go after, and so she's looking for things like impalas, which is a medium-sized antelope, and small antelopes that she can then pounce on. She likes to hunt smaller things because she's a female. It's a little bit difficult for her to hunt really large animals, makes it very tough for her to be able to kind of get them and get them up into a tree and keep them away from things like hyenas. So she's looking for smaller animals. She just walked past a big antelope called a nyala, and now she's trying to find something a little smaller. Now, Connor, they will eat, as I've just said, they will eat basically small to medium-sized antelope, but a leopard has a very varied diet. It'll eat anything from young sort of birds all the way up to baby elephants, giraffe, those kind of things. So they have a very wide array of food that they like to eat, and they really will eat anything that comes across their path. Now, she's busy, I think, watching something on top there. I think she's watching the impalas. Just look at her head, how it's moving, and you can see why leopards are so difficult to find. It's thick, it's dense in here. It's really not easy at all to be able to see them. Now, she's going to disappear over the bank, so we're going to try and catch up with her very quickly before she disappears. Now, unfortunately, it's that time where you guys are all going to be leaving us and you're going to be heading off to another class, and so I hope that you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you hopefully on another safari soon. Right, now, what's a way to kind of begin our normal drive? So, really cool that we've managed to finally catch up with Tandi. Hopefully she's going to take us back to the cub today, and we can finally prove for sure that it is the cub that is alive. But I'm 99.9% sure, given that it's her that we found here. This is the same leopard that's been moving around in this area. We had alarm calls this morning, alarm calls last night, and so it must be her. So, and the cub is actually alive, given what was seen on the dam cam. So super exciting. Now remember that you guys can get involved now. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and YouTube chat. Lots of questions, lots of hopefully comments about Tandi and whether or not we're going to find the little one this afternoon. I'm hoping so. Looks like she's in hunt mode though. She doesn't look like she's in kind of a mode where she's just meandering off back towards the cub. She looks like she's trying to actually hunt something and find something. She was unfortunately spotted by some male impalas that are off to my left-hand side, so she's not going to be able to hunt them. And so what we're doing is we're trying to just catch up quickly to where we last saw her, because she was kind of moving in this direction. Now it's very thick, very dense, difficult terrain here, and it's going to be tough to find her. Now the guys are just telling me that she's still behind me, so we're going to just take a slightly different route to the route that they're taking in order to try and kind of find her. Now I wonder, so First Lady, you're saying us finding Tandi is making your day? Well, I'm glad to hear that, First Lady. So I think I'm making everybody's day, to be honest. It certainly made my day after a difficult couple of days. We knew she was in here this morning. We had those alarm calls. There's been tracks yesterday and today, and so it was just a matter of time until we were able to try and kind of find her and get her again. But there she is. You see, she's following these male impalas. So even though the impalas are aware something's going on, they haven't seen her yet. And so she's in behind the impalas trying to kind of follow. So there you can see her just in the thicket. And here she comes. She's definitely striding with purpose this afternoon. And it is 100% Tandi. And you can't mistake that little face for anybody else's. And interesting that she's right back in the thick of her territory, right back along the Mulawati drainage. She's been kind of spending more time in this area the last few days, but there she goes. You see how she trots across the more open section in order to try and get closer towards where those impalas are. Well, you got a thorn in your foot, girl. Yes, get rid of that quickly. So she's coming slowly along to our left. Now, I don't want to move too much just yet, given that obviously we have impalas close by. There's also another 2 vehicles that are with me, and so we don't want to move and disturb her or the impalas too much. We just want to try and give them as much of an advantage as possible. So what I'm doing is I'm just letting her cut around me, and then once she's around me and in front, then it becomes much easier for me to be able to follow her rather than to kind of sort of cut her off or anything like that, or get in between her and the impalas. Now it seems as though she's gone quite far around already, so let's try and catch up a little bit with her. The impalas are kind of drifting about, so they run that way, then they're running that way, and it's male impalas that are kind of chasing each other in a bit of a rut, if you want to call it that. They're not really full rutting, but there's a little bit of kind of competing with one another at the moment. So I'm just saying hello to the other guys that are with us. So KL, you're asking why animals such as the leopard eat the skin of their prey. I think that's what I heard. Rebecca, there she is right here. She's just coming out towards where we are. So she's heading towards the road. Now, the reason why they would eat the skin is because, well, the skin has got a lot of different things in it. Here comes a nyala. It's going to bark at her now. Just wait for it. It will happen. Well, she's just crept out this way, so I don't know if the nyala can see her. You clever girl, look at that tail. She's not watching the nyala. She's not interested in the nyala at all. She's interested in rather trying to get towards the impalas. Now, is the nyala going to bark? Hello, girl. Off she goes, running and trotting and going away. Now, sorry, getting back into the skin. The skin contains some vitamins and minerals that they can't get from just meat. So there's a lot of fat and vitamin E, funny enough, in skin. And so that's why they will eat the skin itself. They get a lot of nutrients from that. And they will try and kind of eat that to get those. And we know that there was a case where we had white muscle disease in the lions. And that was because they were battling to kind of get much vitamin E. And so in skin, where there's animals that are healthy, they have a little fat layer, and that's really good for them. Now, of course, when you're hunting, it's important to scratch your head and make sure that you kind of get yourself ready to be able to chase animals. I don't know whether she's going to get this right. She's obviously been trying all day today because there's been alarm calls from this area most of the day, and she's obviously had a situation where she's kind of been trying to hunt in this long grass, but it's not easy for her. There goes a grey go-away bird calling. That's why her tail went up very quickly. And now she's on the road itself. So let's try and just keep up with her as she goes along and see if maybe, just maybe, we can have a situation where we can at least see her out in the open. But how cool is this to have Tandi walking around with us, and to have managed to find her in here is, like I say, a bit of a miracle. It was a lucky spot that we got to see her. Right, now that we've found Thandi, let's send you back across to Taylor and find out what she's going to be planning on doing. Maybe she can try and track down the cub. Well, indeed, she's as camouflaged as could be, and you can see why it's difficult sometimes to find these cats when we're driving around here. You kind of drive right past them, because only when you get very, very, very close in can you actually spot the rosetted pattern through that thicket. And you can see how well this kind of spot pattern works and how it's able to camouflage her as well as it does. Now, I'm parked very far away at the moment for a reason, because we have these deep drainage lines on both sides of where we are, and so some of the guys are on sort of the left-hand side of that drainage, and we're on the right-hand side, so that if she crosses over, which is what she was kind of looking like she was going to do, then we're in prime position to kind of follow her through. But if we go round to her side and she does cross over, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with her. Interestingly enough, though, she is at the place where we first saw the cub for the very, 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 very first time in the little den. So we're right at that same spot, and she's kind of back into that central area of Djuma again. And why she's back here, I don't know. Her behavior is something that is an anomaly in some respects, and obviously, as we've said many times before, these guys don't really read the books, and they don't really know anything other than instinct and what they can do to try and protect themselves. And so her scent marking behavior the other day, her extreme movement to the west, is a very strange one, given that Shadulu was in no way anywhere in that area until much later in that evening, when she was crossed over from Arathusa. So it was a very strange kind of thing, but obviously she knows something that we don't, and maybe heard something that we didn't, and that's what prompted her to come down and start scent marking once again. Interesting behavior, though, and she's brought this cub right back. Well, like I say, it was seen on the dam cam, brought the cub right back into the heart of Djuma once again, which is very interesting. she's just stopped and watching. I wonder if there's not some impalas that side or something that she could potentially be looking at. I wonder if it's worth risking going around. So Percy, normally about 6 to 8 months for a leopard to nurse the cubs. Depends on the female, but normally around 6 to 8 months. So that little one that she's got is now almost done nursing. It's going to be maybe another month or so, and then it will be finished with nursing, and then, well, not finished, it'll keep trying its luck, but it won't be nursing nearly as much as what it, or reliant on nursing. It will be much more on meat than anything else. And it's probably why you find Tandi is such an active cat at the moment. In weather conditions like this, she's trying to find food, because as this little one grows, she now needs to find more and more food for not only her, but this little mouth that is probably constantly hungry. And so she's having to hunt a lot more, try and find food, and we know that her previous kill was stolen, so she killed something at the dam wall, and it was then stolen by hyenas and dragged away, and so her last meal was stolen. So she's got a lot of work to now try and find another meal for that little one. And things like scrub hares, while they were fine when that little cub was more on milk than anything else, that's now not going to cut it, because between the two of them, they're going to need a lot more food, and she's going to have to start killing things like duiker, steenbok, impalas, to try and sustain the two of them going forward. Liam, do you reckon we risk it and go around? Or do you reckon she's going to move? I also think she's going to move. Liam and I are of the same opinion, that she is going to eventually move. We just got to be patient and wait for her to do it. But like I say, the camouflage of these cats is absolutely unbelievable. You can see she managed to slink around that nyala without that nyala even batting an eyelid or knowing that she was right there, which to me is absolutely incredible, because she was kind of, for us, quite visible, but because of the bush that was between the nyala and her, absolutely melted away, and was difficult for that nyala to see. It's interesting though, I would have thought she might have had a go at a nyala, but it's just, I think she knows that a nyala bull is just too big for her. She's an experienced cat, so it's, you know, it's just not something that she really wants to target, because in all likelihood she's going to end up losing it anyway. Obviously, if a situation arises where a nyala bull runs straight at her, then you might find that she tries, but otherwise it's going to be a situation where she'll probably prefer to go after things like impalas. Good. Well, while we wait for her to move and see where she goes, let's send you back across to Taylor, who's investigating some branches. Now, you can see we've got a whole bunch of impalas, so this is exactly what Tandi was watching from her side. So we had to loop a long way around, so we don't have any view of her at the moment. You can see the impalas are very, very flighty. They know something is up. There's a lot of wind swirling at the moment. They've been snorting and kind of making a bit of noise, and I think they know that there's something here that is not good for their health. And so they're all kind of just watching and looking, and you can see a little bit on the sort of side of caution almost is where the impalas are at, and the vehicles in the back are the ones where Tandi is, so we can't see her. She's somewhere in that area over there, so where VM's kind of pointing, that's the direction that Tandi's in. We just can't see her. The guys there said they can see her, and so she's kind of moving in this direction, but these impalas are so sort of aware of what's going on at the moment that the chances of them kind of being caught out in this situation is probably quite slim. Now, Bridget, the cub will probably started hunting already. It will be hunting small things, so little insects, lizards, birds, mice, those kind of things that would have started already trying to chase and hunt. I know Tiani, she killed her first baby duiker at 4 months old, so sometimes you'll have a situation where they are a little bit kind of young when they start, but generally you start to see them making their first kills about sort of 8-9 months to a year, and that will be small things, like I say, like little doves, lizards, anything really that they can get their hands on. They start hunting, and that's how they'll hone their techniques, and they'll learn by hunting things like scorpions, that's not a good thing to go after, or mice, and they kind of then try and find a way to figure it out and be able to bring things down. So eventually they'll graduate to things like impalas, normally when they're over a year old. Obviously sometimes there can be incidents before that. I've seen an 8-month-old leopard take down a fully grown male impala, which is pretty insane. So it just depends on circumstances, but generally impalas are reserved for when they're a little bit older. And we know Hosanna was an early bloomer. He took down an impala when he was about 13 months, so he did quite well as well. So we'll just see how this little one goes. But the fact that Tandi still has this cub, even in all this turmoil and drama that's going on between the leopards here and the lions is absolutely a testament to how clever this female is and how she's able to kind of manipulate the situation to suit herself, which is amazing to me because she's right in the midst of a complete leopard changeover, and that is really not easy to be able to cope with, and to be able to keep the cub alive and all of that is very, very, very difficult. So she's really done incredibly well, and like I say, I'm happy to be completely wrong in the fact that this little one is still alive. So very, very cool. And like I say, I'm 99.9% sure that that leopard that was seen on the dam cam 2 nights ago is Tandi's little cub, given that the movement of these leopards around and the fact that there's been tracks and alarm calls in the last 2 days, and then we find Tandi today, it can't really be anybody else, I don't think. And so I'm pretty sure that that little cub is alive and well, which is great news. So a good surprise for all of us. Paul, Tandi is quite far. She's walked the opposite direction of where that carcass is. So she's, I would say, as the crow flies, maybe just less than a mile, but there's nothing left of that carcass. There's literally absolutely nothing. It's just skin and bones. The vultures have eaten everything, so there's no point in her heading towards the carcass. She's not going to get anything out of it at all. She's going to have a situation where she's pretty much going to just get some bones, and that's not really going to do her any good. So she's not going to head towards there. Hyenas will clean that up during the course of the night. But you can see these impalas have no idea. Their francolins are alarm calling a bit, and they're kind of looking towards the francolins. They're chasing each other a little bit. No one really knows what's going on. I have a funny feeling Tandi's in this thicket straight in front of me. So this stuff there that I'm showing you now, that's where I think she's in. And she's kind of just trying to use the thicket to creep up along and around and get herself into a position where she's very close to these impalas and that she can grab them. The other thing is, though, is the impalas are very, very, very clever in that, look where they've positioned themselves in as open a bush as possible, and they're not going into the thickets on either side. They're trying to stay where they can see what's going on. Now, talking about impalas, it seems as though Steve has got a lone male that I'm sure Tandi would rather have than this grouping. Well, she's not popped out. The impalas are just kind of going away from us a little bit now, and so I want to just go a little bit further forward so that we can maybe try and see if we can see where Tandi is in all of this thicket. I'm just going very, very slowly so that we don't have a situation where we spook her or the impalas. So apparently she's just here somewhere. So if we just get ourselves into a situation where we can kind of see where she is, that's going to help us a lot. So we have obviously very dense, thick bush, and that's going to make life a little harder. But she's kind of coming along to the right-hand side as far as I understand it. Can you see her over here? So she's there. She's somewhere there. There she is. You can just see her behind all of that. So she's slowly but surely making her way around towards these impalas. Now that we've kind of moved out the way, it's one of those situations where she's going to use every little thicket she can in order to get her way around and closer to those impalas, which is good for her. She's got a really nice kind of area that she can stalk with, and so she has a good way to get closer towards them. It's a nice kind of dense area for her. So Jedi, I mean, obviously in this area it comes down to the fact that we see them so often that you just kind of see them straight away and you know exactly who it is. But it's a situation mostly with male and females, is that females are built differently to the males. The males have this big, bulky shoulder section, dewlap that comes down, massive head, whereas the females are a little bit more petite, a little smaller, a little bit more kind of compact, and there's this nice kind of sort of small head that they have, and that's generally, for me, how I spot the difference. Obviously in young individuals it's very, very difficult. Now let's just try and move back a little bit, VM, just so we can try and see. So the guys are just asking us if we're happy for them to kind of keep moving with her, which is absolutely fine, because we're going to kind of move a little bit further back again and just scan on this sort of fringe in case she's kind of coming back out again. I have a funny feeling she's just trying to worm her way along from thicket to thicket as she goes, and as long as we stay out of the thicket, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. It should be a situation where she'll be able to move around and the impalas are not going to kind of be drawn to that area if we're just sitting on the road. So I'm just going to try and kind of go down through this area. VM, if you see anything, give me a shout. So nothing so far, VM says, and I can't see anything. So this is where I would expect her to come out, is somewhere in this general kind of vicinity. So from that area to here is where I would think that she would go. The impalas are on my left-hand side, and so hopefully she does come out this way. Good. Let's just sit tight and see what happens and play the patience game. While we do that, let's send you to Steve and a little birdie. Well, Tandi's on the move now. She's going closer towards the impala, and you can see she's got a massive gash on her front right arm. So the other day when we saw her, we didn't think she got a gash on her, but I'm pretty sure Shadulu, that's from the fight with Shadulu. I still haven't seen the video, but given that massive gash in that area, it has to be from her, unless she's had a fight with somebody else in the last few days. But on her front right leg, just close to the chest area, there's a huge, big, open, gaping wound that is still, it looks fresh, but it's at least something that's clean, and it doesn't seem to be any infection or anything like that. But you can see she's watching the impalas again, so she's in a situation where she's kind of trying to keep an eye out on these guys and trying to get herself into a better position. And it's amazing watching her go about her business. She's very circumspect about how she walks. She checks everywhere that she's going to go. There we go. You see now, look, she's getting low to the ground and she's cutting off into the thicket. She's trying to find a way to cut these guys off and make sure she can get into a position where they are able to kind of walk straight towards her rather than her having to walk straight towards them. So she's just disappearing behind the thicket a little bit. The impalas are up in front. I don't want to disturb them too much. Now I'm going to just try and go slightly forward so that we can have a situation where we can just maintain where she goes. So she's just on my left, and I think if we park just to this side over here, there we go, there she goes, Viam. So she's just slinking through the grass, going in that direction straight towards those impalas. So we're not going to move again. We're going to give her the space that she needs now. She's got herself into a nice dense thicket. It's going to be difficult for us to be able to see her, but it is a good place for her to hunt. Sadat, she might have, if it wasn't for two francolins that just disturbed her entire hunt, that exploded out of the bush as she was walking, and the impalas have now bolted, so she's not going to be hunting those impalas anytime soon, unfortunately. Those francolins have ruined it for her, which is probably not going to put Tandi in a good mood. There she comes now. She's got her tail up in the air, and she's kind of walking off away from us at the moment, so I'm just going to try and catch up with her quickly. There she is. She's just in front. Shame, that wound on her arm looks very raw and not very nice at all. And I didn't notice it the other day. Maybe if somebody else had noticed it, but I did notice that she had cuts and scrapes inside of her ears, and so it must have been her fighting the Shadulu, given the size of this wound. Now, she's on a mission, walking back towards the way we've come this afternoon, which is, I don't know if that's ideal or not. Let's see, so she's just through here, Vildi. Now we're going to try and squeeze our way through these horrible, horrible thickets that we've got. There she goes. She's just in front. Careful on the left, Vildi. Now we're going to try and get our way through here without decapitating ourselves. Given that we're in an area with a roof, it's not exactly that easy. Now I'm going to have to try and turn here. Now she's coming back towards where we are, so she should kind of go in front. There she is, so she's just in front of me now. She's just moving around in this thicket. You can see the top of her head as she goes, and there she's going to kind of just keep crawling back towards sort of Vulture's Nest in the Mulawati. Now it seems as though she's stopped there. Let's just quickly get forward because she might be stalking something in the grass. She's a great exponent of a scrub hare or a sort of small animal lying in the grass. So she just kind of stopped and went low to the ground. So I just want to double check what she was looking at. Now it's so dense here. I can't see her anymore. Is she far, Baldy? So it seems like she's kind of disappearing further and further away from us. Right, while we try catch up with her again, let's send you back across to Steve, who's just got on to Chitwa. So she was on the road for a brief 2 seconds, and now back into the thicket she goes. And so back to where we basically started this whole thing. And yes, Rebecca, she is very sneaky. She's probably the sneakiest of our leopards, and that's what makes her, I suppose, part of it, what makes her so fun to try and find and follow. There's some semblance of a challenge with Tandi, and I like that. So I was just, VM and I were talking about it now. We wonder how many hours the two of us have looked for this cat over the course of the last 6 months, and how many hours we've actually spent with her. I think we've probably looked for her double the amount of hours that we've actually spent. So she can be elusive, she can be difficult to kind of keep in your sights, but it's okay. It's, like I say, part of the charm for her is being able to kind of try and find her and try and see where she heads. So she's a cool cat. I always enjoy spending time with Tandi, and it seems as though she's coming back with a vengeance into this area. She's not kind of slowing down at all. She's moving quite a bit. There she is, right there. Look at that. So, you know, difficult to say. I mean, you know, we obviously spend a lot of time. I think Hosanna probably would be the leopard we've spent the most time with, or I've spent the most time with since I've been at Djuma, and followed by Hosanna, probably Tandi, and then probably after that I would say Tingana or possibly Tamba, one of the two of them. Probably Tingana, actually. We've seen him more than that, and then Tamba, and then from there maybe Shadow and Come. I don't know. From there it's difficult to say. It's a kind of toss-up between all of the leopards that we've had. So I would say probably Hosanna, though, by a long way. Manny, the leopards are given names by the guides in the area. So even Tandi's cub, Tlalamba, was a name given by the Djuma guides, and Herbie and Taxon and Aubrey and Rexon. It was nothing to do with us here at Safari Live. We just asked them, and that's the names that they came up with. So it's given to the animals by the guides. Some of them from Djuma, if they're born on Djuma. Sometimes from, you know, guys that are working in other parts of the reserve. So that's who gets the naming rights. Generally where the animal is born, that particular lodge that kind of has the rights or owns that area, or even, like I say, traverses that, will be able to decide on what the leopard is called. Right, now I'm hoping, because she's heading in a direction where we came from, that she might be heading back towards her little one. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping she's going to head there and kind of take us back to Tlalamba, because it would be nice to finally see that little one. It's been a long time. I think the last time we saw it was a number of days ago, and so it would be just good to kind of catch up, see how it's doing, and just spend some time with the little one. But Tandi's making it not easy in order to be able to do that, so we're going to try and keep up with her. This block is not very, very fun at all, so we're going to try and kind of reposition ourselves and get into a situation where I can actually follow her, because the problem with her is you leave her for 1 second and she disappears. Now I'm obviously letting some of the other guides go in front of me, and also trying not to rip my own arm off from a buffalo thorn, which is not gone very well at all. So there's buffalo thorns all over the place, which makes for very difficult sort of negotiation. And like I say, I've ripped my own arm off, and everybody in front of me seems as though they're having a bit of a struggle with buffalo thorns as well. So not ideal at all. There we go. They're through, which is good news. Now we can get through. We're going to take a slightly more wider approach. Be careful, we don't want your buttocks pinned to a buffalo thorn. That's the buffalo thorn in question. The buffalo thorn that has caused a few rips in a couple jackets in front. Now I've got to try and get 2 or 3 of them out of my own arm. So sometimes they stick into your skin, and so just got to try and get them out. Anyway, there we go. I think we're all good now. And so while we kind of do that, let's send you back across to Steve. Well, Tandi hasn't stopped being on the go today. She's being a nightmare to follow, but there's a nice termite mound here, so let's reposition here quickly, Vildy. Maybe we get her on the mound and she's going to actually just sit still for 2 seconds today, because I feel like we've been beaten and bashed trying to follow her today, and she's going into an area that's not any better or any more friendly to what we're going to try and achieve. So hopefully it will all kind of... So Consumer and Paul, the reason her tail's up when walking, it's not you not picking it up, but there's alarm calls, very faint alarm calls, mostly from birds. So things like Franklin's and grey go-away birds. And so what she's doing... Oh, sorry, Vildy. That's not ideal. We've just gone into a spider web, I'm afraid, which is not what I wanted at all. And so she's being shouted at, and what she's doing is to try and then tell everybody, I'm not hunting you, stop shouting at me, stop making so much noise, I'm trying to hunt something else. And so that's why she's kind of puts her tail up. It's almost like a white flag, surrender, leave me alone. I got a big branch by the sounds of things on the car. There we go, that's off. Now where has she gone? Oh, she just moves so quickly, it's impossible to keep up with her. Well, we're going to try and keep up with her and try and kind of get there. So, like I say, it's just more to just kind of tell everybody, I'm not hunting you, I'm not coming after you, stop shouting at me, leave me to kind of carry on, and then she will move on. Now, there's a nice big termite mound. I'm hoping she's heading towards there. Just given where the other cars are, that's what I'm hoping she's going to head to. But with this long grass, it's making life very difficult, as Taylor and Craig have got first-hand experience. Can't see anything, and you end up going down ditches, you end up kind of hitting stumps that you don't want to be hitting. It really is a nightmare when you're off-roading in conditions like this. It's not ideal, and hopefully we're going to see a situation where it's going to start drying out at some point, and the grass is going to start dying back a little bit, because at this stage it feels like we're going to be taken over by grass and we're going to be enveloped, which is not ideal. Poor Rusty at the moment is just getting a bit of a beating. Anyway, we're going to try and find where Tandi is. Oh, there she is. She's just ghosting past us and kind of moving forward. But while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor for the answer to her feather quiz. Well, I'm not sure Tandi would be, being lovely would be a way that I would describe what we've been through today. She's been an absolute delight and a little, good as gold leopard. She's moved and posed so nicely for us non-stop. But anyway, we're in a slightly more open section, so I think we're going to get a good view of her for a little bit now, which is quite nice. Hello, girl. You've given us the runaround today, haven't you? You see, she's sniffing about. This is her little tactic, is she likes to do this. She likes to kind of go in these long grasses and try and disrupt a scrub hare or a duiker or a steenbok and then go after it. But let's just see. Just sniffing around and looking. I think this is the longest she's been still this whole afternoon. You can see her ears, her left ear in particular, has taken a bit of a beating in the last few weeks. If you compare that left ear from photos in December to now, you'll see it's a lot more tatty than what it was. So I think that's where Shadulu must have got hold of her. She's got a big cut inside that left ear, and then the other cut is on her right inside leg. Now hopefully she walks straight towards us, and we'll be able to show it to you. There it is. You see it there. It's difficult to see, but there's a big gash under her sort of... There it is. Hello, Tandi. Hey, my girl. Nice to see her. So she's such a cool leopard. I could sit all day with her. She drives me crazy because it's so tough to keep up with her, but she really is the most epic of leopards. So hopefully she's going to go up onto this termite mound. There's a nice termite mound that she's heading towards, and if she goes up there, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. There we go. Good girl. All right, let's get ourselves into a better position, and hopefully, VM, we can get you a sunset with Tandi, which is what VM's been wanting for quite some time. So let's try and just get around and see. Oh, go up there, girl. That's it. That's it. We're in the right place. Now, let's just try and get ourselves a little bit further forward. VM, you say when? Of course, there would be a poll today. I'll try and just get the pole out the way. But how beautiful is that? Sunset, and Tandi kind of backdrop by that sunset is as good as one could ever ask for. So she's kind of spoilt us a little bit in that regard. That is absolutely beautiful. Finally, so a bit of perseverance and patience has been rewarded with our girl sitting on top of a mound with the sun setting. VM, that's 2 sunsets and leopards in the space of a few days. You're on a roll, exactly. It's very good job. Well done, Wildy. It's not easy to get them. And now she's said, that's it, boys. We're not spoiling you too much. We're going to carry on and see what else I can find. Of course, she was just up there to look for any signs of food items that could be in the area. Now, I'm going to try and kind of keep up with her through here. This is the same place we lost her the other day when we followed her through hell and back. And so I'm pretty sure we're going to go for a nice little walk through a very, very big thicket. Now, I'm going to try and get out of the mess I've gotten myself into. So while I do that, let's send you back across to Steve with apparently an iconic view. We do indeed. No, don't go down the mountain. So we had a view of Tandi, but it didn't go. Now you've got a moth on your lens, VM. Let's get rid of it. Off. Hey, there we go. So moth is gone. Now we are going to have to make space though. There is a vehicle that does want to come join, and we've been in the sighting for quite some time, so we're going to try and get one last kind of view of her before she goes into the real dense stuff and the guys lose her, so that at least the other vehicle can get a chance and can have a sort of good look before it gets too dark, because inside here it's going to be very difficult for anybody to follow her, and so I don't want the other guys to lose out. So I'm going to try and get into a situation where we can at least give her a little chance, we'll give them a chance to come in and have a little look, because she's in stalk mode once again. So she's not going to go back to the cub. The way that she's moving around is in a situation where she's hunting. She's not wanting to try and kind of go to the cub right now. She's trying to find food, and so the chances of us being led back to the cub this evening is probably very slim. We're going to have to hope that she's successful in some way. Now we're going to do some minor gardening quickly. There we go. It'll all just should pop back up, I hope. Anyway, good. I think, like I say, let's try and leave it here with the other guys, and that's so that they can get a chance. And like I said, there's somebody else that needs to come through, so we're gonna let them in. And like, it's just, I don't even know if I can get through here. She's just to our right-hand side, VM. Can you see her through there? So before we kind of leave her for last time, there you can just see her spots through the thicket. Right, now, she's still kind of moving around, and I think she's spotted something again that she's busy stalking. But while we kind of figure out what she's doing and try and figure out a way out of here, let's send you back across to Taylor and see what she thinks about Tandi's shenanigans this afternoon. I don't know what Taylor said, but Tandi is kind of, every time we try and get out, she just pops up right next to us and gives us a nice view. I was having my heart broken by Tandi. No, not today. I'm always joyous when I find Tandi. Yesterday she broke my heart. Yesterday she was being a pain and wasn't letting me find her. So she broke my heart yesterday. But today it's fine. As long as I find her, I'm happy. And as long as we can see her and moving around, doesn't matter how long it's for. It's just nice to have a kind of view of her. Now, we tried to tell the other guy where to go, and I don't think he's actually going to be able to get in here. It really is a horrible nonsense place. There's quarantine in the distance over there. So the dam and quarantine on the other side of this thicket. And so what I want to try and do is just help these guys, because these guys that are here with me at the moment said they need us with our car, and the other guy said it's fine, he's going to stand by on the nearest road, and once we get to the road, then we're going to just leave her with the rest of them. So that's the kind of plan. What's she spotting? She's slinking around all over the place today and bouncing, and she's almost like I got a bit of Tigger in her today. She's sort of all over the place and being a very typical leopard. And this is why you've got to love leopards, is that, and why we have a situation where, like I say, I like Tandi, because you'd never found her. If it wasn't for those first alarm calls, it would have been a long, long afternoon of trying to drive around in circles. And I mean, she's walked on the road maybe 4 minutes out of this entire afternoon. And so it just goes to show why we struggle to find her sometimes. You know, we pick up tracks for her, but then you've got to go through thickets like this and bushes, and it's zigzagging all the time with her. And it just goes to show that's why it's so difficult to find leopards from time to time. And now she's a relaxed cat. Can you imagine a cat that doesn't want to be seen? How easy it would be for them to hide away. And just goes to show why we don't see the likes of Djuma and even this female with the 2 cubs that are on Buffalo's Hook, who are, by the way, pushing further and further south. The tracks for them were seen yesterday on the Buffalo's Hook by Djuma cut line, which is pretty interesting. So they are slowly but surely pushing south, and I wonder if one day we're not going to catch them on a kill somewhere. Sky, I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like Tandi, in fact, is actually pushing more into this area and back to the central parts since she's had that fight rather than going away. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works, and interesting to see whether or not Tandi is backing down, or she's now saying, well, I don't care that you're here, I'm coming back, and I'm going to make sure that you don't come and take my area. What we really want, though, is we want a situation much like what Tandi and Shadow had, where Tandi was to the east, Shadow to the west, and they kind of then settle on that, and we have a situation. There she goes. She's chasing a duiker. So there's a duiker just in front of us that's just run off to the left. Now, I don't know where she is. Oh, she's just disappeared. There she goes. She's right behind it. So she's just come out behind the duiker. That's where the duiker went. The duiker was no more than, I would say, 30 meters in front of her. Not even. Let's see. She's just sneaking through. Typical leopard. How are we going to keep up with this? I have absolutely no idea. But we're going to try. I don't want to disturb this hunt for her either. Maybe this little gap here we can use. As soon as I can see the duiker, I can turn off. The duiker, can you see it? Yeah. So behind there apparently is a duiker, and then Tandi should be in tow fairly shortly. She was also kind of bolting off in that direction as well. I don't know. Let's try and get around. Oh, that's a little branch there. That's not ideal. Oh. This is a very, very pleasant bush to drive around in. Where is she now? She must have run in this direction towards where I am. I've lost her now. Maybe just see. The guys are next to me here, so I'm just checking further south. She should pop out here somewhere, so we should have a situation where we should be able to see her there. Is that her there, VM? Straight ahead of us, basically. Where these guys are. No, that's not her there. Alright, so we're going to have to try and sort of do this and try and find where she maybe went. While we do that, let's send you back across to Steve. Well, no, we don't, but it's only because she's being a handful and is difficult to follow during this afternoon, and it's made it very tough. But like I say, luckily the Land Rovers being shorter and smaller can get through these places, and that's the only reason we've stayed with her, is just to try and keep her for the other guys. Now that she's settled on top of a termite mound, we're going to leave and let the other guys get in. We're right next to the big jackalberry off Gowrie cutline, which is the perfect place for anybody to enter into the sighting. So we're going to be courteous and let them in now while she's still sitting, and try and go and see what else we can find. It's been an epic afternoon of off-roading and putting Rusty through the paces. Poor Rusty, I think, is aged 20 years after this afternoon's game drive, but luckily she's finally kind of settled down, which, like I say, will allow the other vehicle to get into the sighting, which is very good news for them, because we don't want them not to see a leopard. It's always nice for everybody to share in a bit of leopard fun. Look at that tail. She's still watching something, so she's not going to be up there for very long at all. Right, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can go and find and see what there is. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor so she can say goodbye.